Welcome to the American Rancher. I'm Pam Minnick. Today's show takes us west to the great state of Arizona, where we'll see the operations of Seibert Cattle Company in several parts of the state, as well as the Texas Panhandle. From his youth, John Seibert loved ranching and always had dreams of being in the cattle industry. That dream became quite a reality, and today his family sustains the vast operation that is Seibert Cattle Company as a tribute to his legacy. We've got a great show for you today that's full of cattle, cowboys, and southwestern country. Superior Livestock has marketed the Seibert cattle for years, and we'll visit with Representative Buzz Williams about the Seibert operation and learn how they bring forth beef out of this rugged region. We're glad you joined us. Stay tuned for our ranch story, Seibert Cattle Company, right after these words. Welcome back to the American Rancher. Despite its somewhat harsh southwestern terrain, Arizona is a highly productive agricultural state, and beef is its #1 agricultural product. Today we'll learn about a diverse operation that was founded by Arizona cattleman John Seibert, which is now passed on to his devoted family and is keeping them rather busy. John Seibert had always dreamed of ranching and owning a spread from his childhood. He was a successful businessman in construction about the state, and he had a remarkable ability to initiate and carry out projects in a swift and detail-conscious manner. His efforts provided a lot of jobs for others, which was important to him. After a number of years, John's dream of ranching was realized. He began to put together land and livestock about the state and did so in an increasing fashion. Those who knew him said he really enjoyed the cattle business. Over time, John Seibert was recognized as one of Arizona's leading cattlemen.
It was in 1989 that he decided that he wanted to buy a ranch. He had always wanted to buy a ranch and get into ranching. That was his passion, his love, and he did it. And then he bought the first ranch, and then later on, gradually he started expanding and expanding until we are where we are now. He worked overseeing all this. He went to all the ranches all the time. He had really good interaction with all his employees and believed in all of them and had a deep trust with all of them too.
John and I grew up in Payson, Arizona, just outside Payson, off of Granite Dells Ranch, and on an 80-acre ranch there that was owned by my grandmother. And he grew to love the land, and he grew to love the cattle and the cows and all the ranch animals. I must say, too, he knew every part of the land. He knew all about the minerals. He could tell you about the water. He could tell you about just about anything in the southwestern United States. Wow. It was amazing. Tremendous memory.
John and Cecil met in their high school years in Flagstaff and enjoyed a great marriage. The partnership was marked by trust and devotion, and it was the foundation of a very busy and energetic business life that John lived. Cecil remains very devoted to this day to John's ranching legacy.
We have ranches in the low desert, high desert, and the pines here in Arizona, and then we have the irrigated ranches in Dalhart, Texas area. I do a lot of administrative work. I always have, basically. We have 2 employees here, Carol Agahi, who was John's sister, and Renee. Renee's been with us 22 years, and Carol's been with us 17 years. And then our CPA comes down once a month and does our books.
Well, this office gathers papers. As the cowboys gather cattle, we gather papers. and we have volumes of papers here.
John Seibert Jr. now manages the business end of his dad's ranch holdings. With numerous cattle of all types and market targets located at several diverse ranches, John Jr. has had a challenging learning curve that he's adjusted to pretty well. Together with Cecil and Carol, along with many knowledgeable men and women on the ranch crew, Seibert Cattle Company has a pretty good team.
What I always noticed, growing up, whether it was this business or other businesses that my father had, there was always a sense of family. People that work for us have worked for us for, 15, 20, sometimes, 30 years. So when my father died, I think it was a real sense of really keeping the family going and the family together was sort of the main thing. So yes, it's a business, and yes, we have to do everything to keep the business going, but a lot of it was to really keep the families going that relied on my father's ingenuity and sustenance to keep everybody together and everybody going. So for me, it was about that. It was about keeping the family, the larger family unit, which is the Seibert cattle family, going, which trickles down to the individual families that are all supported by this. That was sort of the idea. And I think that was really important to my father, and I think that's important to my mother and myself.
Seibert Cattle Company runs cow-calf, feeder, and stocker cattle in their operations. Much of their cow-calf herds are Angus and Red Angus based. They will raise an assortment of commercial stocker and feeder cattle at their various ranches, including the desert regions of Florence and Congress, Arizona, in the southern part of the state.
When my father passed away, we had sort of a cow-calf operation, but not really. And since my father's love really was about going to the auctions, and he liked the wheelings and dealings and dealing with the markets and all of that stuff. So he concentrated more on the feeders because that was really where he loved the part of the cattle industry, which was the auctions and doing all that. So after he died, I started increasing the cow-calf operation just because of the risk factor.
The desert country offers both challenges and opportunities for cattle ranching. When it receives rain, it can be highly productive. When it doesn't, you best not wait around. Timing is everything. Seibert Cattle Company ships cattle that they've marketed over Superior Livestock auctions several times a year. Buzz Williams is their Superior representative and is well acquainted with their needs in terms of volume, location, and market season.
The desert ranches like where we're at today, sometimes they make every 5 years, sometimes it's more than 5 years. This year, they needed 1 more inch of rain. That'd have been a great year, but that didn't happen 3 weeks ago, so we're shipping off the desert early. We're just trying to continue Mr. Seibert's legacy. He was a very smart, energetic man, and he put all these ranches and farms together himself. I'm just trying to help Mrs. Seibert and John Jr. keep it all together and keep that legacy going. They're increasing their size of their mother cow herd now and lowering the numbers of feeder cattle. Everybody knows the name Seibert, thanks partly to Superior. Everybody in the whole world has watched their cattle sell, and usually it's not a small bunch.
This morning in Florence, Arizona, we gathered some cattle right after daylight and out of the holding trap, and we brought them into the corrals and sorted them by size, and the brand inspector inspected them all off the scales, and we loaded the trucks, and then they headed to their new destination. Miss Seibert and Mr. Seibert, they've been great to work for. I learned so much working for them. It's just unbelievable, and all the employees are very grateful to be working for such a neat company and have a lot of respect for them.
This is a beautiful thing that John created and built, and we love it, and we love to be able to carry it on in his memory.
All these ranches and everything are just a continuation of John's legacy. He loved ranching. It meant everything to him, and we're just really, really happy to carry on for him.
Seibert Cattle, I think, is really about the Seibert cattle family and keeping that together. you know, from the small families, you know, to the 2 families, to the 3 families. I mean, it all forms one family. And I think that's the mainstay that my father had, you know, about this company. And I really think that my mother and I want to continue that and do continue to do it for the same reason and same purpose.
John Seibert Jr., Cecil, and all of the Seibert crew must keep a watchful eye on resources to be successful in southern Arizona at Florence and Congress. When we return, we'll go out on a ranch delivery at their Texas operation, and then travel to their historic 00 Ranch out west of Flagstaff and watch them work some cattle. This is The American Rancher. Don't go away. Welcome back to The American Rancher. Seibert Cattle Company is quite an operation. Over the years, John Seibert and family put together some productive working ranches in southern Arizona, as we've seen thus far. In the second part of our story, we'll visit their 00 Ranch near Seligman, Arizona, and their Texas operation outside Dalhart. In the upper reaches of the Texas Panhandle, Seibert Cattle Company owns farming and grazing operations where they place cattle on wheat. Irrigation works and pasture areas are spread throughout the Texas outfit that J.D. Nichols oversees.
The Seibert Texas cattle operation, we usually will bring in some steers and heifers that we wean off of the Arizona ranches, off the cow herds over there, or they'll purchase some other cattle that we'll wean and run them on the wheat country in the wintertime. Usually they'll start planting their wheat at the end of August, 1st of September, and we'll get them hot wire broke and weaned, and then we turn them out. We'll run them on corn stalks if our wheat's not ready, and then we'll turn them out on the wheat. And usually our goal is to sell them from 700 to 800 pounds, and they come in about 400 to 500 pounds. The farmland for Seibert Cattle Company is the main piece to the puzzle because we can, the cattle gain so much weight in a short period of time on the wheat in the fall and winter. So we can wean the calves off the ranches and bring them over here and get them marketed at a short period of time.
JD's been with Seibert's for many years, since he was a small boy the first time I met him. Now look at him. But JD manages all of the farms, the ranches, the cowboys. He works at night, making sure the irrigation systems are up and the wind hasn't blown them down. He works all day long. One of the big jobs that JD's responsible for is with all the hot wire around the wheat pastures and make sure the wind hasn't blown them down, the cattle hasn't run through them, the vehicle on the highways didn't knock them down, and they're out in the highway. It's a full-time, 24-hour-a-day job pretty much for JD.
Buzz Williams ships Seibert yearlings, marketed through Superior, off of the wheat at Dalhart in the spring. Sometimes the weather's agreeable, and sometimes it's not.
Today's delivery was a normal delivery here for the Seibert operation. JD gets up early in the morning, makes sure all the cowboys are there by daylight. Everyone's mounted horseback, and they gather the cattle. My job is to go to the scale because usually in this area we weigh cattle on trucks. So I go to the scale, weigh the trucks, make sure that's all correct, that they're on the scale with all of their tires, and then I lead them out to the location, whichever farm that we deliver cattle from. And then I coordinate that with JD, they pin the cattle, I show up with the trucks, and then we size the cattle or sort them. Sometimes you sort steers from heifers, sometimes it'll be all steers and you sort 2 sizes. So we'll sort the big size, the little size, and then if there's something that's unmerchantable as far as something that's lame or has a bad eye or something like that the buyer's not gonna like, we take those off. We call that the cut bin. And then we load them on the trucks, follow the trucks back into Dalhart, and run them across the scale again at the co-op, weigh them, and you subtract the empty weight of the truck from the full weight, and that's the weight of the cattle. take the number ahead and divide that into that weight, and that tells you what they average. Pay weight.
Buzz Williams has also played a key role in the transition of family leadership.
I know Buzz and my father were real close, and they were friends. You know, they weren't just colleagues. So when my father died, I mean, Buzz really stepped in and really helped my mother and I with some of the details. So Buzz was really instrumental after my father's death in really giving us a lot of the details of how to do things, how they did things, and how to market the cattle, and really sort of explaining to us, you know, sort of we had the big picture, but we didn't really know the minute details that they knew together. So he was very extremely helpful and instrumental in really keeping this place alive and keeping things going.
I think we started with Superior like 15 years ago, and Buzz Williams has always been our rep, and he has done a remarkable, wonderful job marketing our cattle over all the years. We've never been disappointed in anything he's done.
Well, I went to visit Mr. Seibert 2 or 3 times in Mayo Clinic when he had not many days left, and we talked some, and he just said, Buzz, he said, I know you will, but I want you to help the family, which I would have done it anyway. But, you know, I've been to every ranch, every farm. I mean, it's like I kind of work there, and I know where all that stuff is. And, you know, I told him which cattle were big enough, maybe need sold, if the cattle need moved, just whatever it takes, you know. If there's a ranch that's not watered well, just try to help them out.
Located in northwestern Arizona, about an hour west of Flagstaff and outside the community of Seligman, the Double O Ranch is a classic spread of more than 200 sections that Seibert Cattle Company has used for both yearling and cow-calf production. Seibert Cattle Company currently uses it as a cow-calf operation. Traveling the far reaches of the ranch extends branding for several weeks in the spring. Dale Tecklenburg manages the Double O.
John Seibert bought and sold lots of cattle while I was here, and we run cows and calves here when I first come here, and then we went to a stocker operation and was in that for, I don't know, probably 6 years or so, and then we went back to cows and calves the last 3 years.
The Double O has decades of history and has had several high-profile owners, including the Tovery family, who founded stockyards, packing house, and restaurant businesses in Phoenix in the early 20th century. The Double O Ranch sits at a high elevation above 5,000 feet and has excellent water provision through tanks and windmills. The desert grasses extend well and provide good nutrition for the Seibert cattle.
When we have good fall and winter rains and stuff, then that will grow good feed and we can run it, but there's a lot of years that it never does because we don't have the moisture. And it's some of the best feed in the world when you make it. It takes us about 3 weeks to go around and brand everywhere. Three to four, depending on how many we get at each branding. We can go from 150 to maybe 15, just depending on where the cattle are out in the country.
Oh, I love all of it. Yeah, I really, really do. And the more you're around it, the more you learn to appreciate it. I think we're so fortunate. And then I have to give a lot of credit to our employees, a whole lot of credit to them. They're wonderful people. They work hard. I appreciate everything they do for us. And they're just good people.
Alexis Eldridge is the granddaughter of John and Cecil Seibert. She and her friends from nearby Holbrook are cowgirls who readily take part when it's time to work the cattle. Alexis spent countless hours with John on the Double O Ranch as she grew up.
John Seibert was my grandfather, and I used to bounce around on the dirt roads all around our ranch here. And he taught me a lot about the land and how, you know, what you need for the cattle. And he loved this business, and he definitely instilled that in me. I have a love for it too. I love the land, I love the cattle, I love the people. I think it's just an all-around great business.
Superior enables cattlemen to take their stock to auction and expose them to a tremendous pool of buyers without having to load them up. Buyers benefit from being able to view thousands of head of cattle over television and purchase truckload lots backed by contract from the convenience of their home or office.
Seibert's market their cattle with Superior. They trust Superior, the check's good. We've built a great reputation for Seibert cattle over 15 years. The cattle have improved greatly, genetics, and during that 15 years, Seibert's gained numbers from every ranch in Arizona and in this Texas Panhandle area.
I know that it was my father's preference to always deal with Superior. He had a really great relationship with Buzz Williams, who does an excellent job marketing our cattle. I know that my father really liked the idea of the video auctions, because for him it was, you know, if you take cattle to a sale and then they don't sell, you know, they don't want the price that you get, then you've got to, you know, take care of them. And, you know, my father was a lot about relationships, so his relationship with Buzz made a huge difference in where he was marketing his cattle as well.
Thanks to Seibert Cattle Company, Buzz Williams, and Superior Livestock Auction for a great show and a look at ranching in the southwestern United States. We hope you enjoyed it as well. You can find out more about us by visiting our website, theamericanrancher.com, or check us out on Facebook. For our entire team, thanks for joining us. I'm Pam Minnick, and I'll see you next time.